So calling for conflicts of interest, is there none? Nil at this stage. Okay. There is an additional late item, which is
The temporary occupation and acquisition of council roads for the Inland Rail project.
Yep.
Somebody move that we include that on our agenda. Councillor Galvin, Councillor Egan, those in favour say aye.
Aye.
It's now carried. You probably need to turn your mic on. So we go to
Merrill Minute.
the Merrill Minute, which is a result of, you've probably read this, I presume you have, but when we were in Hobart at the Roads Congress, the New South Wales local government, or LG New South Wales, put this motion up, that there is a statewide roads emergency and that we need, it was just after the announcement of $50 million funding for potholes, which, you know, I don't ever laugh at a grant, but it is too small. And so it's just supporting that motion. If you're happy with that, I'd like to move that way. I need a seconder. Councillor Egan. Is there any discussion? It's pretty straightforward.
It also outlined the problems we're having with the
Yes.
getting the resolution of our state.
Yeah, it does. The roads emergency requires a letter. The other's just a notification. But so anyway, I'll put that motion over and folks say aye.
Aye.
It's now carried. Thank you. And we go to item 7. Oh, hang on. No,
Notice of motion.
7.4, isn't it? Yeah. The notice of motion that's been put up by Councillor Matthews. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Matthews? Or actually put it, I suppose.
You need a second.
We need a second, yeah, before we do anything. Councillor Dixon seconded it. So, over to you, Councillor Matthews. You'd like to speak on this?
Good morning, everybody. It's become apparent to us because of our kind of role, sort of social role at the op shop, that a good number of people are looking for emergency housing. That sort of takes the form of emergency housing as in people who're escaping domestic violence, and also probably less urgent people who've not got accommodation. So, you know, we've had a few people sleeping rough that have come looking for bedding to the op shop, and a number of people are, you know, probably predominantly single mums trying to find accommodation in the town when there isn't accommodation for them. And additional to that, some people are being offered accommodation which isn't sufficient for them to store their belongings. So this motion sort of calls for us to establish a committee to do two things, I think. To flesh out the extent of the problem and to somehow check the availability of unused housing in the town. I guess short-term emergency accommodation has got its problems in as much as if people are in a situation where security is a risk, then that's probably not something the council can take on protecting them. But if the accommodation is sort of surrounded by other people, then probably the risk is not terribly great. So sort of taking on a house out in the bush is not the best for them. So you've all read the motion.
Yes, I take it you're talking short-term accommodation, is that correct?
Short-term accommodation for those who need it, you know, probably a week's accommodation, but, you know, what do you do with them then?
Yeah, I was just wondering whether the living classroom could accommodate that. Have you considered that?
Yes, I have. It would be suitable if other people were living there, if there was a population of people. But as you know, it's an isolated situation, and if somebody's threatened, we haven't had anybody whose violence has been public. All right, but we've had a certain number of people who've been subjected to violence in private.
Yeah.
So I presume the threat to them in a public situation wouldn't be great. But yes, the living classroom is ideal for people.
Okay. So have you got more to say? Or?
Well, I think there's a bigger problem with housing in general, you know. And I think the council should consider the possibility of assisting in the provision of small houses, you know, like a group of small houses on some land donated by the council. You know, the funding for that would have to be sought by a grant.
Yeah, it's a theme that I hear wherever I go. Every council's got the same
And
problem,
we're trying-
housing problem. Yeah.
It came up at the conference that they had.
Yeah,
Well, the last two conferences, they spoke like it's nationwide. I know that doesn't make it any better because we're concentrating on Guida. And it's really hard because we could build 10 units
Yep.
and those 10 people could be fixed, but we might have 20.
Yeah.
I know years ago, Trundle actually did and that was to entice people to come from the city to small country town. They had dollar housing and they opened up farm cottages and things like that. And there was a big thing on the ABC or whatever it was.
We
We
went down
tried
there.
that ourselves.
We went
yeah.
down and saw all that. It
Yeah.
wasn't Trundle either. It was.
We went to.
Oh, it might have been Trundle as
Yeah,
well.
Trundle did
No,
it.
we did it down round Orange, Molong.
No long way.
Yeah,
down.
Trundle-
Somewhere near Molan.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
somewhere down there.
And they did the dollar. I know Trundle did because it was on the ABC
Yeah,
News.
sure.
And they did up farmhouses, and you're saying they're too isolated. Yeah, there is so. I agree. We need someone like something.
Yeah.
But yeah, how many can you build? Because you might have 20 homeless people, but then you also have the people, and we've just been through this ourselves. That they don't live how you'd expect them to live, and they totally wreck places. So you've got to make them. Yeah.
I think the irony of it is, and you hit on it, is that I can't remember the number, well, it was 70, I think, or more, houses in the Shire that are unoccupied.
700.
700, was it?
740.
Well, that's an enormous number of houses that are unoccupied. A lot of them would take a fair bit of getting livable, but because of amalgamation of properties, there's empty houses. And so that, you know, we haven't really got a housing shortage, but we have. It's
Yeah, well, maybe the council can document the available habitable houses
the keywords available. A lot of
and,
people
you
aren't
know,
interested in.
send a letter out to people who've
Yeah.
got empty houses suggesting that they be rented. You know, the other thing is Peter Turnbull
Yep.
is doing a line in small houses.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, something that could be put on council land like a village sort of thing.
We have had low-income housing, really, and we've had a lot of trouble that the ratepayers have had to pick up the tabs for. Sometimes the tenants forget, and I'd rather leave and this is very non-Christian, but I'd rather leave my houses empty than put some tenants in
Yeah.
there because I can't afford to bring it up to scratch every time. I did it for young students, art students, and they absolutely trashed it to within an inch of its life. And after that, you're wary. And I'd rather leave a house empty than put some tenants in that leave you with a bill you can't jump over. And I did hear you on the ABC.
Yeah.
I'd rather I was saying this in confidential, but however, it's a topic on the street. The one person you happen to mention is an alleged dealer.
An alleged.
Drug dealer.
And
Look,
the town doesn't.
I think that the people who are drug dealers and who trash houses are the lowest in the socio-economic heap, and they need some assistance, regardless of your biases towards them. Perhaps you can do something to vet them to some extent, but they're there.
They are there, but they're there from their own makings. He had a job, he was employed, and a home, and threw it away.
People don't get in that situation by choice. They get in because of social circumstances, many social circumstances. So you can't leave those people on the trash heap.
That'll be the problem with the farm housing is because of that reputation that they're not going to be available.
Yeah.
That's what we've found anyway.
That's as we've found the situation, that it's a small town, everyone knows the
Plus,
people.
I think when you start giving things out for nothing or for free or for
Less than its commercial
for
value.
honest people, that's good, but it gets abused.
Yeah.
Anything free gets abused, and that's where you start.
There's no
I know we've
suggestion.
got to do something about it,
There's
but
no suggestion that these people who are seeking long-term accommodation are willing to pay normal commercial rent for something. There's just nothing for them.
Yeah, that is a
I
problem.
understand that.
That's
know.
a problem. I think the other side of the argument is that I'm not disagreeing with you, Councillor Matthews, but you have to be careful that you don't attract that element because of cheap housing or whatever you're proposing. But you've obviously thought of that too.
And I think we all agree with the situation and Chris's proposal, but we have to be able to have some form of security over it.
This is what your committee will be considering, I dare
Yes.
say.
You know, I mean, there obviously needs to be some system for oversight of people,
And
but
What's worse, you
reputation's
put
probably
someone-
reputation is probably not the best way of judging people.
if you don't judge by a reputation, how do you judge?
You judge by by multiple things. You know.
I'm, I've been through hell for the last 6 months with people that we've trusted that have totally wrecked a beautiful house, and we've done it.
Yeah.
We did it out of the goodness of our heart, and now we fit the bill. So I suppose I'm really burnt.
These are critical incidents, and you don't hear about the good cases.
Oh, I know. I'm
Right.
not judging. I
No.
don't judge anyone, Chris. I'd take anyone home,
Yeah.
and I won't judge anyone. But yeah,
I think that most of
there's
this is,
you don't want to see people out on the street. I'd be the last to see somebody out in the street. I'd take them home, and that's me. But I also know how much, I know the other side as well.
Your situation with your trashed house, you weren't in a position to supervise those people.
No.
You know,
It was outside the shire.
council, if it takes
Was
some
outside the shire.
responsibility, could have someone who goes inspects the places.
Yeah.
yeah, there's ways and means.
And then you run into the problem. I've got a friend that has a unit as an investment over in Coffs Harbour, and you run in, and the people that are renting it won't let them in for inspections, and they've done the same thing, and they won't let them in because they have squatters' rights. You know.
I think
All those problems that are overcomeable.
I think that the committee will consider those if we go ahead with that. I heard your interview on the radio and it was sound and solid, but I think that you did a little bit of dangerous territory with the interview in that it was this presumption that this committee was going to be formed, which is a decision of this council.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, Chris, I know this sounds picky, but in a previous council, we had a lot of trouble with individuals going to the media, and it was, and yours wasn't the case, but we had a policy then that only the mayor spoke to the media.
Okay.
So I think in future, if you do get a call, just run it by me. I would have said, go for it.
Yeah.
And I think you did an excellent job, but that is one of our protocols.
Okay. I was not aware of how that reporter
Fair
got
enough, yeah.
wind of what was going on.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought they would be able to get hold of the minutes of the meeting, and that was the only place that
They've read this. Yeah.
they can read.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thought did occur to me.
Yeah, no harm done, but it's just a point. All right, is there any other discussion before I put the motion? If not, I'll put the motion as.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
I'm assuming you're happy to include my suggested addition to your
Yeah.
motion?
With the committee, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That was all part of the motion, isn't it? I presume?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get it straight, John.
Yeah.
Or Chris, a committee to sort of start looking at it and coordinating.
Assess the
Back to the
situation is one
council.
thing, isn't it?
and then come back.
And there would be there's got to, because there's such a shortage Australia-wide, there's got to be grants out there to be able to build this
Everyone's
accommodation.
screaming for them.
Well, I asked the Minister for Housing
Yeah.
when she was here
There is nothing.
in our community. Give us some money. We've got the land. I told her all about it.
It may well
She
happen.
was
There's
not
a lot
interested.
of pressure going on them, so it may well happen. But at the moment, there's nothing.
Arts and that sort of thing.
So if I can have a last word,
Yes.
if it does nothing else, it'll establish the need, the extent of the need, and the extent of the available housing.
Yeah, I
To
agree.
define those things, I think it's sort of a bit airy
I think
fairy at
that's
the
a good
moment.
idea.
That's a good idea.
I'm a bit wary, like the others, of putting a heap of money and putting a heap more back on the council in forming, building new houses or little settlements for them, because it isn't going to attract
Yeah.
more dramas later on. Or,
Yeah.
but if we had a committee where they could steer people in a certain direction and maybe find, I think that's a good idea.
And I think the findings of the committee would help secure a grant.
Yeah.
So we need to start there. I've got no objection to that at all.
Okay.
So anyway, you're
I'll
right.
move them.
It's already been moved and seconded. I'm just going to put it now. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against no, carried. Passed. Thank you. Next item is officers' reports, and it's the October Executive Services Report.
Happy to take any questions.
Well, I see we've got another feedlot emerging,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. So any questions on Max on this report? It's quite extensive.
And the other one will be
This is a
gone,
different
won't it?
one, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a new one. This is Bencom.
Yeah, that's who I thought it was.
And the other one will be gone, no doubt.
No, what do you mean the other feedlot that we have? Well, the property's for sale and it's advertised as licence pending for a 999 head feedlot. So it's not gone.
Yeah, no. Oh, okay.
That's Diora.
What did I have? So the Wellness and Interpretive Centre, that's been started, I see.
Yeah, eventually, yeah. There was a problem with the quality of the concrete that was used in part of the slab.
What was it?
They have to go back and do some work on it.
It's got to be pulled up, has it?
Doesn't have to be pulled up. They're examining what they can do. They think they can just put a covering over it, but they used the wrong sort of sand.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it?
Yes.
That happened.
Well, yeah.
But that was toyed around for a long time. There was quotes given, people put quotes in for that,
Yep.
and they weren't got back to, and yeah.
Yeah, they've arrived. You can just finish
Oh,
it.
right, have they? Okay. All right, well, is there any comment
There's
or
a
any...
lot of muck around, I think.
I'd ask for someone to move the officer recommendation that the report be received if there's no more comment. Councillor Dixon's moved that way. Second it? Councillor Smith? Any comment? I'll put the motion, those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against no, carried. Okay, we'll break now for the ceremony. Righto, so we're up to item 8.2, which is the Organisation Community Services Report. Thank you. There you go.
Happy to answer any questions you might have.
How do I know you're going to say that? Well, things like Meals on Wheels, and you have plenty of volunteers, no?
Volunteers are a huge issue throughout all of our functions.
Okay. Well, maybe we should put that out there.
Yes.
Mm.
Yep. It wasn't that long ago we had a bit of a drive and it didn't bring
Yeah.
any results.
You have drivers that take people to medical appointments? And,
Yes, we have just enough, but we've got people that do a lot more than what they probably should.
yeah.
It'd be nice to have more numbers too.
That works with a pill card, does it? Or
With a transport funded card. a
yes.
council card,
Yeah, okay.
specific to that.
Oh, yeah, right. So the volunteer is volunteering time only is what I'm getting at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And if they use their own vehicle,
Leah's
they
report
get
that I
compensated.
had.
Yeah.
Petrol.
Yeah. Yeah.
They get a little meal allowance.
Yeah.
That's not caravan parks
it
and
fall
everything
in the
like
road?
that, is it?
For the home care,
CHSP.
Oh, right,
transport to
Is it in both communities
those communities. Yeah.
are suffering from lack of volunteers?
Yes, we've got just enough, is what I say, in our CHSP areas.
Is that using the bus? Have we still got the buses in both towns?
Yes.
Or is that using the bus or just cars if it's only a single person?
There's 2 vehicles in both, one vehicle in Morialda, 2 vehicles in Bingra, and a bus at either place.
To do the patient transport, or that's the wrong word, take people to it. Is there any hoops you've got to jump through? Is there any certificates you've got to get?
No, you've just got to have your licence.
Is that all? Yeah.
And a police check.
Yeah.
You got to have a police check, that's...
Yeah.
We can't do NDIS people though, that's a different service.
Oh, okay.
Working with old people or something, isn't it?
No, no, right.
Working with
Might
children?
have a working with children thing for the legacy. I don't know why that was, but
Yeah, we all.
You'll see with this item coming up that you'll all have to do a working with children check as well, just with this new child safe organisation. It's becoming a thing everywhere. So
What page are we on, John? No, you're not on your.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm surprised
it
we didn't have to
starts
have that to
on...
go on council.
you've got
Lift
our-
off
Yeah,
where
That's
we
on
I was
page
really
50
surprised
starts.
about that. I thought
Oh,
you
we've
should
gone
have.
right
Oh,
over
we've
there.
gone. I thought we were still in the first.
where we did we
That got
sign off
moved
on
and
the?
adopted.
You've got to
conveyancing and all that?
catch up a bit,
But I think they walked in and we hadn't done it.
Yeah, I thought we hadn't.
Hadn't
no,
done
we'd done
what?
it.
No,
The
we-
first report.
Yeah, we did, we completed it.
Yeah. I just want to say, I know I'm going back to the first report,
Okay.
but I had it underlined. The Whitfield Place units,
Yes,
that lady is doing an amazing job. I see her toddle across to Faze every day with a little
bring back
trolley
plants, yeah.
and buying plants and making sure all the other people in there, and she probably drives them crazy. But
She loves doing it.
I know she does.
Yeah.
She absolutely loves it. I don't know whether we can do
Have a
something
photo
for
in the
her and maybe put a photo in the
Just recognise it, mate.
to recognise her because
No
she
harm doing
I
that.
think Sally's making a note as you speak.
yeah because she Deanna she's got it looking amazing.
Well, I think if Sally just likes to cover that, it'll be very good. Yeah.
I'm not a counsellor, but I will bring up, I think the preschool edition looks amazing.
Fantastic.
Oh, it does, yeah.
Our stuff.
I say exactly the same thing.
It looks like it's just homes.
Yeah.
Quite often in extension, doesn't it?
No.
Yeah, no,
Good look.
that's really good too. And they're both as you're coming in.
So we're finished with the previous item, we'll go back to this one.
Sorry.
Well,
go back
I'm not
to me.
sure that we have because is the previous item, is that where the weed spraying is?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get to talk about weeds.
Well, you had the opportunity, I asked you if anyone had any
Well, there
more.
are too many people in here.
There was nobody
No,
here
there
when
was
we dealt
no
with
one
it.
in here then.
Oh, well, I still want to raise about St
I can't
John's
accept
Ward
any of
on
your
the back-
excuses.
No.
I'm happy to go
I'll
back.
stick with you, John. You're
All right,
right.
what is it you want to say?
St John's Ward.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've mentioned it, but I think that we need to be very, very careful with it. It
Where
is
is it?
out of
Where's it?
control.
Everywhere.
I've never seen
However,
it.
it is everywhere in our shire, and it's a threat to
I've
our
never,
beef
I'm
industry.
completely unaware, I don't even know what it looks like. We didn't have any, so.
Yeah, well, it's coming more this way. Palau, out there on the Cobbett Road, there's a place that's just yellow. Absolute. And the farmers around are all doing their bit,
Yeah,
but if we don't drive those ones that aren't,
yeah, all right.
and then down towards Cobbett, it's even down into that area,
It's all
near,
through Whitlow. I spent Saturday spraying it all day.
what's it look like?
It's a bright
It's a
yellow
bright yellow.
mustardy.
yeah.
It comes out in flower, it's about that high.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Used to be
we're
over on
we're
the
unaware
river
of that,
up
we,
there,
Jeff, I don't know.
I've never,
I've never
you
seen
hear
it.
The
about
underhome
it,
on the
but,
river. Really bad.
I haven't seen
we've
it,
got everything else out
but it's
there. right?
been
Well,
underwater,
it's-
it
yeah.
probably hasn't.
And it's
Yeah.
out of control, and
Just eat it,
photosynthesize.
it's a good
Thought it
antidepressant.
was.
Yeah.
Is it?
And so the beef
Yeah.
industry is under threat from it,
Yeah,
and that's what our
Chris said we
industry
could
is.
make a fortune out of this.
Yeah, just eat it, it's a great antidepressant.
Can you get me some?
Just if you're on an antidepressant already, don't eat it.
probably need to eat it while you're spraying it, I'd say. All right, well, I don't know what you want to do about
Oh,
that.
well, I just wanted to make everyone aware that the cattle industry, it's like you've probably got more Parthenium weed up your end, and you're very aware of that.
Lyndon's not here.
Oh, sorry. Well,
Yes.
Lyndon wants me to raise it in any case.
He got 300 acres of it. Well, Sally, can you also report on St John, the outbreak of St John's Wort?
If you
It's
talk
probably
to
because of the
Saul
wet.
Standwick, you'll be able to get some background detail about it.
Thank you.
Hopefully.
Okay, now we go back to the item we were on.
I expect as many questions.
Yes.
Previous item.
I started the ball rolling with a question. It's up to the rest of the council now.
Page 50. I'm not up to there yet. I'm only up to page.
Well, you have to hurry up.
I guess of most interest to the council should be the quarterly action progress report that's at the back of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Happy to answer any questions if you have.
I like seeing when you put in here all the nice things they do with the Nauru residents. That's so good.
Did you want to comment on any of these traffic light reports? Is that what you're talking about, Lane?
No, I just was bringing to council's attention, that's the
Yeah.
quarterly report that comes to you about progress with our operational plan.
Yeah. Well, I enjoy it. I think it's good. Yeah.
It's what our staff are accountable for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the toy libraries are something that really, really well used with young mothers, and I think they really appreciate that.
Leah, do you think it'd be appropriate to report on the consultation that's occurred in the last 2 days in Warialda regarding the green space that we're intending to build?
I haven't had a proper debrief from Longard, but Sarah told me this morning that it was 90% positive
Oh,
Yeah.
very
in
good.
John's assessment. He is going to catch up with me this afternoon about
Okay.
some comments. Was overwhelming want for a toilet block in that area, which
Yeah.
we've all discussed and think that that's important. There was concern that council was going to knock down that historical building, but we petitioned that off, and
Yeah.
he'll have to wait for the structural report and then whatever funding might be happening in the future.
I think there was I know the first day there was 25 people spoke to him, and I'd say yesterday there was more.
29
Was there?
yesterday,
Oh,
and
only
he
a few
didn't.
more.
He wanted to close at 4, and he couldn't. He was still there at 6:15.
Yeah.
John was really impressed with the public interest.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, I was
That's
pleased
good.
with that, and I think that if 90% of it's positive, we'll probably ought to run with a fair bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of discussion about what sort of trees, and it was interesting too that it was suggested that we put in a tree of knowledge and a seat of knowledge for those that use the 2 seats in Warialda. And I think that's a great idea.
I think too.
Overwhelmingly, John was saying to Sarah that the community are more excited about the green space and would like to see that first before the car park. We were looking at staging it and doing the road and the car park first, but the community would like to see the green space done first.
I think you've probably got to do the road and the car park first because you're going to drive all over the green space.
Yeah, it was just interesting. I
Yeah,
thought.
yeah.
That was the...
I reckon the budget's big enough to do both. Yeah.
And what was most heartening for me, and John reported to me, I haven't spoken to John Mongard yet, was the input from the high school by
Yes.
the
Yeah,
principal.
I was there
So,
when she was
yeah,
there. Yeah.
that's really exciting.
I think that you mentioned the lack of toilets, and we need a toilet there, and I think the time has come and we're going to have to provide another toilet in Warialda in the interim period. Because we closed the council ones and we didn't go ahead with the courthouse ones, and maybe, I don't know what you think, but maybe we reinstate Corinda House for a little while.
We've looked at that.
Yeah.
Colin's on leave at the moment, but it's used as a bit of a storage area at the moment, but the Corinda House ladies are happy to move that.
Yeah.
There's just a couple of little things that need to happen
Right.
for that to happen, but Colin and I have had that discussion.
So even John Mongard commented on the lack of toilet when he was trying to find one. So, and the other point that was made to me was that
We could put a bucket in your office.
the bucket would be fine for me, or a tree. But the other toilets down behind on the creek there are not signposted very well.
Okay.
Might be an idea to put public toilet notice up or something. Can we?
There-
The signs.
Pardon?
We're talking about the ones behind the old cafe in Hope
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah.
But we'd move the signs to point to those.
There is signage there. The trouble, I believe, with that is that they don't look like a public toilet visually.
Yeah.
Like when people are driving through, they don't see a box that is a
Yeah.
public toilet. The signs are there, short of putting flashing lights and a...
Well, it's just at the passing parade. It's not so much the locals, but it's the
No, and that's right. People are looking for the box that
Yeah.
is a public
Yeah.
toilet in the main street. And that is behind a building.
Well,
so-
it's well located, I think, out of sight.
Yeah, but Corinda House toilets are on the radar again. We just need to...
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Righto.
But they'll be closed when we build the
Yes,
other
yes,
public toilets.
yes, I agree with that.
What was the stuff, you said there was 90% for it?
The feedback that I've just got from people dropping in, and again, I haven't spoken to John Mongard, but the general, the people that were negative, from what I understand, believe that council's taking away business opportunities by knocking down that infrastructure in the middle of town. But the message that John was giving is the industrial areas there to be developed, and there'll be subsidised power in the future. So, and one would consider if the buildings there are suitable for anything other than agricultural storage sheds, because there's no ventilation or
No.
no.
I called in there on 2 different occasions, and there's always whinges, there's always complaints, and the one that amazed me was, well, we don't think we should start it because there's not enough money and we've got to do it properly. It's $500,000.
Yeah.
We can't build something like for that. I mean, you can keep adding to it for the next 40 years if you want to. But,
We were just talking about the... David and I, the whinges are the ones that they don't do anything around.
no, that's right. You
Exactly.
just don't take any much notice of it.
Back to your question, Councillor Smith, one of
think
the
that is
other
a-
points that people are bringing back is that some people believe there was historical significance around what was a seed and grain building, that, you know, there was some level of emotion attached to that building as well. But we've all had a look at it, and it's...
If you did that about everything, nothing had ever happened. There's significance about everything.
It'll have significance if you find a bucket of money under the floor somewhere.
We're all emotional about Grandma's house, but at the end of the day, we don't want to live in it, so it's time to move on.
That's right. That's right.
And a few neighbours are concerned about visibility into their yards and what we're going to do fencing wise, etc. So that's something.
Yeah, I also had a comment about that. We don't want a steel fence, you know, up the side. No, I don't know how you address all this, but
We'll come up with something wonderful, I'm sure.
yeah.
And the community consultation will be blended.
I think a softening effect on the town's what we're after for this park. I'm hoping we can get that. Is there any other questions, Leo? I'll ask for somebody to move the report be received. Councillor Egan and Councillor Smith. With the motion, those in favour say aye.
Aye.
No, carried. The next item is on page 110, which is the councillor activity report. There for notation only, I would suggest, could somebody move that the report be received? No, going to fall over, I can't get a mover even. That's the Carlton Councillor Smith.
I'm just reading everything I have.
I read a few things in there that I supposed to do but didn't get round to.
Okay, next item 8.4, Old Yalleroy Depot acquisition, page 113, Councillor Egan.
Thank you.
Well, there's a lot of information here, but it is pretty straightforward. Is there any questions of the General Manager, I suppose, would say?
That's the... I started reading it, it's about 12 o'clock that night.
Yeah.
But that's the old depot on the Grudge Inn Road.
Yeah,
That's right.
So what do we actually got to do there? We've just got to get it.
Payment.
I think we just want to make it unavailable for any other party to claim it, and the only way to do that is to actually purchase it. The initial purpose isn't really all that important because you can change it down the track. So it'll probably end up being for housing, perhaps.
So we just want to free it up.
Yeah.
So I thought.
Any other questions on this? You're probably going to be very disappointed after all this work if we just put it and go through.
No, I like it.
That's got
And he
a
likes
bore.
buying shit, so, he wins by 5.
I like buying.
Has that got a water supply bore in the middle of it?
So you got what's that?
water supply bore in the middle of that?
It used to have water because
It
they mixed concrete there.
it does have what looks like a bore on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon the
It was a
bottom.
ready mix block, you know, that's where.
Yeah, I know, but I thought that bore wasn't for the ready mix. I thought it was for.
Well, they had water
Is
for
it
something.
pumping to the town supply?
Maybe,
Yeah, it could have been.
maybe.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, all right, if there's no questions, I'll ask for removal of the recommendation. Councillor Egan and Councillor Colton seconded it. Put the motion, those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against no, carried. 8.5 is the Child Safe Code of Conduct. I think that's the next item, isn't it?
Yeah. yeah.
We have an internal committee working on the child safe requirements,
Very detailed.
and this is only the start.
Yeah.
So we require council to approve.
Is this a government requirement that we
Yes.
do this? Yeah.
It's an outcome.
Another one.
It's the outcome from the Royal Commission.
Yeah. Seems like we do a lot of this though.
So our working with children check that we would have, is that
We found out during this process that a working with children check is more thorough than a police check.
Yeah.
So all our new staff will be having a working with children check, as opposed
How do you
to
attain that certificate?
working with children. It's just a form that you fill in
Yeah, good
electronically and it comes back within a couple of days.
it doesn't expire, does it?
Yes.
Yeah.
does.
Is it every 2 years you got to do it?
I think it
Yeah,
is
it
every.
Yeah.
varies from state to state.
Yeah, I think it's every 2 years.
So it's
Mine's
it's,
expired or not, I've got one.
There's no inquiry into your character as to whatever you provide, is it?
No, it's an
No.
it goes to the relevant
Yeah.
departments just to check that
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not listed.
I see.
I think it, I got one about 10 years ago and it was, I'm sure I had to get a police check at the same time.
Or
Yeah.
now it's,
Or whether it goes through the same
it
thing.
goes through all the channels. So it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there was a time where working with children check, from what I understand, was focused on any offences around children.
Right,
But
yeah.
now it encompasses a general police check as well as whatever else they may be. I don't know.
So if you get this certificate, you've had a police check, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Yeah, you can do it online.
No, you'd have one, but I don't
So
know
we,
what you find.
as a council, we made a policy that all our new staff went through a police check as part of a recruitment.
Yeah.
But now they will have a working with children check.
Which will be the same thing.
Yeah.
Only better.
And more.
Then
Yeah.
more, yeah.
You can understand that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have an objection to it.
Yeah.
I suppose I do personally, that
I-
someone
I-
might doubt my integrity, but I can understand why you do it.
Well,
I thought, being a councillor, it would automatically, you would have to do it.
Yeah.
And then when I got on the football committee, they said, I said, oh no, I got that. No, I didn't bloody
You didn't have it. No.
They go,
We had to have it working in the canteen at minor league and
yeah, but it was a heap of kids. Where senior league, you didn't have to do it because you didn't have any under 18.
No.
That's why. And then when you had a under 18 run of water out, you had to do it again.
Okay.
And there was
Stupid.
a lot of examples. We were a bit cynical as well when we started the committee, but when you go through the training and you're given examples of real things that happen,
Exactly.
for instance, the grader driver that may go to someone's place looking for water for the work that they're working on, and there's children there. There's all sorts
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
examples, and we just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to. It's legislation.
Yeah.
Still doesn't stop anything, but
No, it doesn't.
No.
But as an organisation, you've done everything you
yeah.
possibly
Yeah,
can.
I
to-
don't have an objection.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So
that means we should all do it here.
the recommendation is the council approves the Child Safe Code of Conduct and Child Safe Organisation Commitment Statement, endorsed the Child Safe Organisation Act. And while I have no objection to that, we have little choice anyway. So would I have a mover, please?
Yeah.
Councillor Matthews and Councillor Dixon, seconded it. I'll put that then to the meeting. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
It's no, carried.
I've got
8.6.
The next one's just procedural.
So I've had
Yeah,
to
it's
have
the,
it working in canteen.
the exact
elections.
wording they wanted
Oh,
for the
okay.
elections.
Right.
And everything.
So, in fact, the next item, which is to do with elections, is saying that we're going to take on the Electoral Commission to do our election, which is what we do.
Yeah, you actually made that decision at the last meeting, but they
Yeah.
wanted this for.
They wanted it, yeah, okay.
Back to
All right,
nothing.
well, seeing it's more or less procedural, I think we'll have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Egan and a seconder, It's going to lapse. It is.
Councillor Smith, I think.
No, Councillor Dixon, go. Councillor Galvin on that. I'll put the motion. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay, keep moving. 8.7 is councillor professional development.
Again, this is now a legislative requirement.
Yeah.
And I popped on your desk this morning everything that you've done so far.
It's
that
only
can-
this year.
This year, that can fall under, professional development. So we'll look
Just-
backwards and,
Just going to a conference, is that professional development?
Yes, it
Is
is.
it really?
yeah. But if
Doing
you,
something online like for 10 minutes is professional development.
Do all those Zoom meetings?
Yep, it's all professional development, isn't
no,
it? Isn't it?
meetings aren't,
Oh, okay.
no. Conferences are, that's professional development, but not meetings, not Zoom meetings or anything. If you were doing training
Yeah.
through Zoom or
Got a bit
Teams.
of professional development here the other day with the chair of LG New South Wales.
Sort of.
Yeah.
That's a stretch. But I also popped on your desk some information from Centium.
Yeah.
With regard, they're offering their services for the development, but also provision of training, etc. So we'll get back to you with anything.
How extensive that going to be, Leah? I mean,
Well, it's an individual training plan for each councillor, and I know Councillor Regan's already indicated she would like to do the board training for
Directors.
director
Yeah.
training, which I think would be useful for any councillor that hasn't done it.
Yeah.
So, we'll try to organise those locally, so
it's a 5-day course, 5 days.
5 days.
And they're big, full days.
They are big day.
And it's hard, I know that.
It is hard. You have to
Is it
actually,
harder than
you have to
JP's?
actually keep up.
Oh, yes.
It's harder than JP's.
But you don't have to do the exam.
I heard you.
In that regard, Mr Mayor, the question I have is I noticed that on social media, the 30th of November is the last time to register for the company directors. Are we considered as councillors a company director?
No.
no, we're not. It's very easy to do that. You've just got to have your MyGov ID account, and then once you've got that, you just have to provide some relevant information with the ATO, and then you get given a number. It's not hard to do.
Oh no, I just wonder whether we should have to do that as part of. As
I
a
think
councillor.
that that must just be an annual thing. If you miss out on the 30th of November, you do it next year.
$3,000
Yeah.
fine.
It's only just come up though, really, hasn't it?
Yes,
Yep.
it has.
We had to do it for our company and I'd never heard of it before.
No, it's only
Earlier in
new.
the year, about April, I think.
You can rest assured the government will find new ways to annoy you.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
It's easy on a good day when the website's working.
But the company director's course, I could recommend to everybody. I mean, while you don't need that qualification to be on council, it is very relevant to council.
Yeah.
And the training is very good. They
Yeah.
fly people in, industry professionals for each different segment. It's very, very good investment of your time.
I'd be happy to do it
Yeah.
anyway.
I'll do it.
Yeah, I ought to do it,
Would you?
but I don't know where I'll get the 5 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's always the trouble, yeah.
I said, Catherine and I were talking about it yesterday, and I said I'd rather go somewhere and do it solidly, for, even though 5 days is hard to find, but go and do it rather than having to find time.
No, you need to do it in a group so
Yeah.
that you learn from everyone else.
Yeah.
They won't deliver it any other way.
Oh, good.
And they'll only deliver it at a place where there's an airport because they fly.
So we did it in Tamworth.
Tamworth or Armidale will be.
Rural?
People don't like the pencil in the sky that is the Inverell service.
We have an airport out here. What's wrong with it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I can't convince them to land at Bingra. I could try.
If something comes up, we'd like
Okay,
to.
that's no.
We'll keep you advised on what training's about, but I guess the whole reason for presenting it is for you to be aware that you now have a requirement to do training and professional development.
Yeah.
So, having said that, the officer recommendations report is noted. Can I have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Carlton, Councillor Egan, those opposed say aye.
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 Okay, now, missing one. there it is there. Okay, monthly investment rate collection report.
We're missing
Helen?
around here.
Just your standard report. As you'll see, the cash at bank is really high, so all the money came out of T Corp in October like it had to. And we're yet to get, we've got Regional Australia Bank and National Australia Bank have given us term deposit rates. We're still waiting on Rabobank to get back to us on what rates they can give us. We just did reinvest the $3 million that is direct investments with NAB, and I think we only got 2.8%, which is interesting because we also did an inquiry on borrowing funds, and that interest rate has actually jumped up to 7.8% now for borrowing. So there's a very big difference
That's where they
between,
make their money, you know.
yeah, big difference. So we are working on that to get that. So the investment list will get really long because we'll have those term deposits will have to be set so that they can be due for renewal throughout the month. So we will always still have that cash because it won't be on hand like it was through T Corp.
Okay.
But that will be our best chance of actually still receiving interest on that money.
I
Yeah,
have a question.
yeah. Yes,
Did
Regan?
we ever get paid out for the bypass?
So we are still, we've sent off some very frustrated emails earlier in the month. It has been booked. The funds were released on the 24th of November for that $1.5 million payment.
That's today.
Yes, no, so they got booked for release.
Oh.
So we have to wait up to 5 business days for that money to hit our bank account. So it had to go from federal funding to Transport for New South Wales, and then it had to get released from them. So that's been ongoing since the 30th of June, and we've been pushed around, and
Christmas present.
yeah, we stuck our jig the other day, and they finally admitted that there'd been too many hold-ups, and that 30th of June invoice will get paid by the end of November.
And are we able to say, well, you know, it's cost us in excess of so much in extra?
It has
interest?
cost money to carry it, that's right.
Yeah, we've had to carry
Yeah.
it.
Well, it's frustrating because we were told back in August that it was going to be done, so we paid out the loan, and we've been carrying that ever since.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's 7.8% interest, and we've been carrying it for
It's going
3 months at least.
Spend only 20 grand or more. The hold-up has been the direct result of 2 bureaucrats that we've dealt with in the past that have been very slow to act on our concerns. One of those I'm chasing up with the Transport for New South Wales Community Placement Partner Director, who should be able to make some movements on that front for us. I'd be very doubtful that we would be reimbursed for any lost dollars.
Oh, we will definitely.
But I like the thought.
which Graham does now have a contact with. After he spoke to someone, he's now got a direct contact that has said that she'll work hard, and if we do have dramas, to contact her, because she was the one that actually got it to the final check spot to get it actually released to be paid. Fingers crossed for future stuff.
You'd think it was their own money, wouldn't you? Sit on it. Okay, is there any other questions of Helen? So can I have a mover of the recommendation, please? Mr. Galvin, Councillor Smith, those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against no, carried. Next item is Communication Digital Information Board. We should be commenting on this, I'd imagine. Which one do we go with?
I just have another question.
Yes.
Again, it's money. Helen, we did initially put funding in one of those grants, didn't we? Which one was it that we were trying to,
It wasn't a grant funded, it was just an allocation.
Budget allocation,
the budget allocation?
How much was it?
80,000.
80.
Oh, that probably answers our questions.
Well, the question is, do you want single-sided, double-sided for a start?
Well, you're happy for us just to come back to you. Justin's going to make a decision from the technology side of things, what will work best for us in the future. Casey's done the research and getting this report to you, so I've asked Casey to come in.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, you're far better qualified than we are.
Can I just say something? With the one, like, I think the one's absolutely perfect in Warialda where you've got the picture to have it there. But my thoughts with the one for Bingra is I think we need to wait till we get our new
Building.
Shire building and work it in. This is just my thoughts. rather than get something and then we've got this beautiful new Shire building and it doesn't work there. So I think, I don't know what anyone else's
It'd
thoughts
probably
are.
be moved if it wasn't quite right. I mean, the facade's staying there, so.
Yeah,
But
I
that's
just,
fine, we could do the Warriota and then in the next financial year we can do the bin grounds.
yeah.
that's
Oh, that's my thoughts, because you wouldn't want to put,
a good
like,
idea.
with the new,
Warrior happy, they finally get something
Yeah.
better, haven't they?
with the new building, we don't know
Tell
what,
everybody.
we
And
don't
that
know what
is-
the new building's going to look like, so that mightn't look in the right
That's the
spot
other way to
in
do it.
Bingo.
And that is noted in the
Yeah.
document that we need to give consideration to the new building. Something to potentially combat that will be to put the additional smaller screens in the customer service
Yeah.
office here, because if it does end up being the Vic again, it can just stay there. So
Well-
the thought is there'll be 2 additional smaller screens that have a very similar thing and a similar
Both of them to go in the
functionality.
Vic, you know. Both screens go in the
In the
executive
visitor
Vic, in the
information
visitor
service.
information. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one here,
Okay.
and then another one can go in the Hope Street Council building.
Wouldn't go into the information centre.
No, because you do these bigger
Big ones,
screens.
No, the little one I'm talking about.
Yeah, but the big screen will be in the outside.
I understand that, but would the little screen be located in the information centre?
At Warriota, no, because you'll have the
Big one
bigger
outside.
ones. The bigger information board will be located outside the information centre at Warriota,
Oh, I thought it was outside the council chamber, sorry.
and then that's in Bingra. Yep.
Okay, well, how do we work it so that it's kept up to date and we're going to have a dedicated person to do that?
It'll be the responsibility of the communications team, it'll be part of their scope.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's going to be terrific. Yeah.
We were a bit negligent initially, well, I'll take responsibility. We didn't involve Justin from an IT perspective in our planning, so Justin's just been dragged in at the tail end of it, and turns out that the hardware's not near as important as the technology behind it. So
Right.
if you're happy to hand it over to Justin for his expertise, he's going to work out what's best for us from an IT and
Yeah.
logistics point of view, and Casey's done her report with what's possible.
Yeah, I think we
Can I ask the question,
Silly
you
not to.
said the big screen will be down at the Vic in Warriolda. Would it not be better in front of the council chambers where people are passing through there? I mean, I know you've got visitors coming there, but if you put the small screen in the Vic, well, you've got that.
I think it could get lost, and I think the bigger, the RHS polls and the bigger information board, I personally think if it's in front of the council building at the council chambers in Warriota, it could be in the way. That's my.
It's not a high
thinking.
traffic area as well, like vehicles.
Well, I was just thinking more of local people would be more likely to see what's going on there for local.
But that's why they
events.
Well, that's why the
How big's the
additional
little one?
screen. Well,
Oh,
that's
so-
to be determined.
So it's in the
We
window
can look at
facing
that.
out.
Yes,
the
yes,
side.
yes.
Yeah, so there'd be 2.
Yep. So that way, they're the 2, I feel, 2 higher flowing traffic areas would be along the main street and then towards the information / customer service.
Yeah, I
office.
think you'd capture most of it that
And
way.
Yeah.
Warriolda's very unique in that traffic going through doesn't necessarily know what's happening down the street. So having the sign on the highway in Warriolda will hopefully capture people's interest to stop and turn down as well. So that's the thinking
I'm a
behind
bit the
that.
same here with Bingra. I still reckon Bingra's better up near even Fays Park there.
Okay.
Because not everyone drives down that main street. They turn here and go that way.
The only hazard I feel with that one is there's a lot of trees there,
Yeah.
which could potentially
We'll cut the bloody
obstruct
trees down.
view as well.
Did what trees for they?
Well, that sounds all right.
Greenies will get you.
And then we'll
No,
go
I
back
do,
into
because
Facebook and cutting
Yeah,
the
there is a
trees
lot
down.
of traffic that go that way because the
Yeah, I
signs are
agree.
there. They don't go down the main street.
Yep, that's the point.
Yeah.
I have to think that perhaps even the Warrior one would benefit from being a double-sided one if it's capturing traffic that we want to do. That we get them from the west and the...
Instead of facing it out, face it.
Yeah, have it so that it's.
I know it's an extra expense, but...
Well, if we're spreading the expense across 2 financial years, it makes it
I
That's
just
right.
think that maybe that if it's going to draw traffic, they might just drive down.
It's probably not a bad point. I was thinking you'd face the highway, but you put it 90 degrees so you can see both.
See both
As you
sides.
drive.
Yeah.
But if we're going to do what Marilyn
Have
said
accidents there.
in Bingra and move it up this way, you don't have to wait till the new Shire building's built. But
I think if that was the preferred location, you could put a frame over it to protect it from limbs, I'm sure.
No, it's a visibility
It's a
thing, not a
Visibility, is it?
protection. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Even though it's the end of November though, you could easily get one done in this year's budget and
One
then
done next-
hold one over for
Yeah.
3 or 4 months at
That's-
most probably, and have it in the budget for the next year and just pay for one in each year.
So if that's the case, you've got plenty of time to think about the location.
Yep.
So we can go ahead with this recommendation
Yep.
and use Justin's expertise to get the right bit of gear, and then you can decide where you want it later.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And you think that that's a good suggestion, double-sided one for Warialda?
yeah,
Yeah, I
if
do.
you're going to put it there,
Definitely.
yeah, because
I
you've got
think,
it.
well, I think you should look at double-sided if you're going to put it over in that
If we
park
put
there
it there,
too.
we probably need to look double-sided there.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
very certainly the way that's sitting
Leave that to
there.
the team. You know the sentiment.
Yeah.
I'll put the motion then. Well, no,
Oh, we
I'll
haven't
ask for a
moved on,
mover
so-
first. I'll get
I'll move that.
Councillor Smith, and seconded.
Just say one more question.
Yeah.
Are the contents of it all the same, like Bingra Warialda, or like the Warialda one
No,
separate?
different.
It'll
No,
be,
have to be. There will be.
it'll be when the honey festival's on, it'll have that, right?
Yeah.
While we're talking about this sign, or do you want me to come back to it? Can I mention something about the council chambers, or will we come back to that? We can come back in into
Come back in your report, would be better.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes.
Is this intended to be read by people driving past, or is it intended to be read by people walking?
Both.
Both. I think.
Right, because if it's intended to be read by people driving past, you can't have many characters on it,
No.
No.
and you need a parking place so they can walk back if something captures their interest. So that needs to be taken into consideration with placement.
I just said the similar thing to Councillor Egan. We'd have to set up an ambulance station there for the accidents that occur.
Well, exactly, you know. A double-sided one out here, people are going to be looking at it coming this way, they're going to drive into things on the corner.
And that
So there
intersection's already
needs to
scary.
be consideration about
Streets are
availability.
too big
If you can
there,
have a lot of, I mean, if it's just going to have beautiful Bingra on it, you don't need to worry. But if it's going to be more than a couple of lines,
So
Department
that'll
of
be,
Transport will have to approve it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, they'll take all those things into consideration.
traffic committee, Alex? Let go to a traffic committee?
We'll go to the traffic committee.
Good.
And if you're going to spend that sort of money, you want more than beautiful Bingra and wonderful Warialda on it. Like you need to have
But you can put a
information on
headline and then smaller stuff so they
Yeah.
can come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we've probably had enough discussion. I think it was moved by Councillor Smith. We need a seconder. Seconded Councillor Egan. The opposite recommendation. I'll put the motion. Those in favour say aye.
aye.
It's no. Okay, thank you. Next one's the quarterly budget review statement on page 255. Helen, over to you.
So I can take any questions that anyone has. There aren't any, I mean, there are large changes, but that was mostly bringing our grant funding stuff into line with all the projects from end of year stuff. So it all kind of marries off extra expenditure with extra income. The only big one to probably note is on the consultancy and legal statement. Consultancies are really high, that 312,000, but that's the drought resilience money that we got, that we paid the consultants for to do all that drought resilience
Ah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Before anyone goes, what was all those consultants for?
Yeah.
That's a big chunk
We
of
did
that
look
was-
at it.
Yeah.
That's why I gave you first crack at it. All right, so is there any question?
I'll just point out one
Yes,
item in
Alan.
the quarterly review that is above the bottom line of the adopted budget. There's a $100,000 line item for the Warialda fire break. It's not expected that we will spend all of that, but it's essentially tidy up works and our part of the commitment to maintain the fire break, but more so to get it into a maintainable state
Yeah, yeah,
once the Soilcon people finish their work.
yeah. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so are there any other questions? And if there isn't, can I have a mover of the recommendation? please. Councillor Egan and Councillor, I was going to say Councillor Nash, Councillor Dixon.
You can say it.
I'll put that motion then, those in favour say aye.
Aye.
It's now carried. Well, that concludes the ordinary part of our meeting.
So you want to do council reports?
Well, we can do council reports unless you want to, if you have something you'd rather do in the confidential session, that'll be okay, but general run-of-the-mill ones we can take now, and I'll start with Councillor Egan.
No, I don't think I have anything outstanding. I've spoken to Max about them.
Okay.
I went. Oh, you can. Yeah. I went to the library meeting the other day with Carmen in Corindai because Catherine wasn't available to go. And we've by far got the most beautiful library, even though theirs is new. But when I was down there, the library in the main street, I reckon is worth going to have a look at it for our new council chambers.
Oh, yeah.
The way it was set out, I've actually got some photos. Has anyone been to the library in Corinda? So
new.
Yeah, no, but it's been there for a little while. But the way it's done, I reckon would be perfect for over here. It's got like a courtyard in the middle, and it's got where you walk in the front, and then it's got the library here and meeting rooms here. And it's it's well worth looking at for our new council chambers, I reckon.
Well spotted.
Because I didn't really look at it for a library. I looked at it for the new council chambers.
Nice.
And it's nice.
You have any,
Christmas road trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth going to have a look at, because especially the way down here you've got that courtyard bit, and this was sort of undercover with the seats out the front. And
is that you, Councillor Governor?
no, also I went to a 2020 meeting last night with Catherine, and 2020, and I was approached last week. Do you want me to show?
We're not in confidential.
So
All right, go on.
this isn't confidential.
No, we're not in confidential session.
Oh, I know.
No,
Yeah,
you're right.
okay.
Keep going.
I went to, there might be more to add later. The 2020 AGM, after I was approached, I had a phone call from both Meg and John Bishton, and Gary and Rick have resigned and gone right out of Vision 2020, and Meg and John Bishton have taken over the role, and they want to take it on as a new way, not have it
Who's Meg?
Meg Stemmer.
Okay.
And they don't want to have it like the old, well, this is the way they're talking, and they want to meet with Lenore and I next week and sort of move it into more of our business house meetings.
Like a Chamber of Commerce, more like
Yeah.
So is John
to it as a
Bishton the
progress
president?
committee. Yes.
John Bishton's the president and Meg's is the new vice president.
Okay.
And they just wanted to have a social catch up next week to see how we could move it into supporting our business house group and
Vision.
revamp it.
Should be Vision 2025 now, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Or is it looking backwards?
So
I think it's Vision 2030 though, right?
It was
Yeah,
being Vision 2020.
So that's a good thing.
yeah,
Who was the other one that resigned? You say Gary and...
Rick.
And Francis.
That's his result too.
Yeah.
Why did Francis?
Anyway, that's all right.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a positive thing that maybe we have been working well, like the business groups have been all working well together, so,
Yeah.
and we've been a bit slack with our meetings, I suppose, because of everything that's going on, but it sort of it's good that,
Yep,
Yeah.
good move. As I say, that you? Done?
Yep.
Councillor Colton?
No, not really. Just I did attend the final meeting with the Warrialda Historical Society last Thursday,
The
and
final meeting?
well, the final meeting for the year.
Okay.
And I've passed on some information backwards and forwards to the General Manager and the Deputy General Manager in regard to questions that were asked in regard to what's cemetery and what's not and so forth and so on. So that's about all I've got to report.
I've asked Saul to do a complete report about the history of it for the December meeting.
Yeah, it seems that there's sort of conflicting information or they've got information the council hasn't gotten, Vicky Verkey, so.
All right, thank you. Councillor Smith, nothing? And until Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I've got one question. That was on the Prime TV the other day about new businesses in the Gwyder Shire.
Oh, yeah, I heard about it.
Yeah,
Didn't see
but
it.
why wasn't Morialda included in that?
was
It
all
was
Bingara.
only Bingra.
It was all Bingra, yeah.
Can I tell you something? When they cut a lot of it out, because it was, I actually messaged Amanda to find out that the exact businesses that had opened in Warialda, and I couldn't get on to Amanda. I think I ended up speaking to Kelly. Because that was us. That was filmed weeks and weeks ago before Melbourne Cup, and it was supposed to be talking about the whole of Gwyder Shire, because I spoke on it, and I spoke about the new businesses in Warialda and the new Gravesend store, and it was all chopped out. So it wasn't...
Yeah, but I just didn't think it was right that it was a wider
Yeah, well, it was spoken...
businesses, but they only mentioned Bingra.
It was
Ryan
spoke
Baldwin
about.
spoke to me in Inverell, and
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
And he said, it was a fantastic promotion for Bingra. The
Yeah.
only person missing on it was you. He said, I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was that you can blame Prime, because I actually... And they cut it all short,
Yeah.
because I spoke for ages at the last minute, and I spoke about Warialda businesses, and I named them, and I spoke it because I rang Warialda to get the names of the new businesses, so I didn't miss anything. And I spoke about the Gravesend store, and they didn't put it in. But that was filmed weeks and weeks
And
ago.
they do that all the time.
Yeah, so it wasn't
Yeah, I know.
any of our fault.
Yeah. But it just looked bad.
Yeah. There's
It
not
looked
much you can
bad
do
on
about
our
it,
part.
mate, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can blame
It
Prime.
was
on
on
Prime.
Prime News, I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I
can
didn't-
blame Prime.
Yeah.
I thought Gravesend got a mention, but there was, Warialda was mentioned as a town.
That's
There
it.
was- there was
That's
nothing-
it. There was
Well, I
nothing.
spoke about the Pepperbox Gallery. I spoke about the new hairdressers, the what do you call it? Gem shop and the antique shop.
Anyway, you can't do anything about
Yeah.
it.
No, but anyhow.
It was noticed, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Do you have
that's
anything
it.
else?
No.
Chris?
Just somebody who's mobile in a gopher the other day suggested that we probably ought to have some more gutter ramps and disabled parking in. This is in Bingra, I don't know. Or
What
something.
about the disability committee? Didn't they
I
walk around
can
the
speak
towns?
to both those things
Yeah,
briefly.
yeah.
We have an allocation of nearly $1 million for footpath upgrades in Warialda and Bingra.
Yeah.
Neither of it's across 2 programs and 3 projects. None of them have a tightly defined scope, so we have freedom to essentially upgrade and provide new footpath where we see fit. Pram ramps are absolutely at the centre of the
Yeah.
upgrades that we're looking at.
So it should happen, you're saying?
It will be happening, yes.
Okay.
Did they have suggestions where, Chris? Can
Yes,
you pass on to
outside the bakery, outside the IGA, that's particularly
Yeah, they're
problematic.
bad. That's right.
By the police station, by the butchers, and by the post office.
Agree,
Both just
IGA.
IGA and
Outside a bakery, IGA, police station, butchers, post office.
There is a bit of a double-edged sword with these. You lose a car park every time you implement one. So if we were to put a dozen in the main street, we lose a dozen parks.
Yep.
I think they might have to get out and wheel them.
I think
Yeah.
from
Every
the
corner's got one.
I'm on that committee, and there is one going, like we put it out for IGA, post office, and there's already one on this side of the street.
There's 3 down at the front of the.
Yeah, so there was IGA and post office is also it's already gone to the committee.
All right.
But you'd have to listen to the committee recommendations there, and you've met and
Yeah.
you've walked it. So.
We've walked it and
Yeah.
it's all
Taking
been,
people in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
It seems to me there's one outside the bakery already.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I
yes,
don't,
yeah,
It's
sort
a
of.
driveway.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, so that's all been put in at the committee.
Yeah, it is a driveway, yeah.
This was just part of a consultation.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Is that you, Chris?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, I've got a little bit here, mainly a report on the country mayor's meeting. it astounds me the expense it costs to send me to Sydney for a country mayor's meeting. I think that it is worth it. The last meeting was a really good one, and they mostly are. I'll give you a little bit of rundown of what we talked about. A fellow called Craig Carmody spoke. He's the CEO of Port of Newcastle, and there's now just very, very recently been given approval by the state government to have a container terminal there.
Oh, wow.
It's been off the it was Port Botany only, that's what the state said. But it was because of country councils, a big push from country councils that they got that, and he was very humbled by what we'd done. Just a little bit of information that they currently doing 4,600 ships a year and they're capable of 10,000. It's the largest coal port in the world and it's currently coal dependent. And he can see that down the track, it might be 30 years away, the coal job's going to finish. And so he's trying to secure other work for the port, and containers is the way to go. We had a talk from Linda Scott, and I've heard this quite a few times at different things, but she said that we've had an increase of $100 million towards our FAGS grants. Our local roads and community infrastructure program has had a $250 million increase to $750 million over 3 years. LRCI asked the program has extended 200 million fund for disaster management. Housing Accord, the state and federal governments, is what we're talking about today. I've written notes here that don't really follow. Productivity achievements from local government available from ALGA. They wanted to do a state of the local government assets, and the idea of this is the disasters that we've had. And I've just noted that there's productivity achievements are available from local government input, available from ALGA. Darius Turley, our President of LG New South Wales, spoke a bit about the Red Fleet fight that's going on. We had she did speak about IPART's methodology as well and rate picking, and then we had a very, very good, interesting talk from it was Carmen Donnelly, actually, not the person that gave a presentation on IPART. She's the chair, and she said that the problem, we're all up in arms about the 0.7% increase in rates only, capped at 0.7%. She said that she's new there and she's a bit inspirational, I believe. She said she knows that that's wrong and that the methodology that they use is wrong. There's been a review, which did we contribute to that review, Max? Any ideas?
The local New South Wales, what their submission, I don't think we could have improved on it, frankly.
So they've received submissions from everywhere, and they're reviewing the methodology, which won't come into effect for the next rate rise, unfortunately. I was able to ask a question about the fact that we had a 0.7% increase, that we can never ever get over that. No, that haunts you forever. And would there be some compensation in the next rate rise for that? And she said no, that there wouldn't be. But anyway, it was refreshing to know that it's being looked at. She spoke about the variation they made available, but the problem with the variation is that it takes the weight off the state government and makes all us councils look bad. She talked about the fact of the population growth, and in my little question I said that did nothing for us at all. I said that she said that there is a productivity factor in the guidelines that they never use. And I said, well, that's what we want you to use, the productivity factor, because we don't have a population, but we've got a massive so-called asset in our roads, and the productivity factor is the thing that would help us. The Commission, the other thing she said was the Commission looks backwards when it's doing the rates, so it'll be looking on last year, and that's why we only got to 0.7. Inflation hadn't kicked in, interest rates hadn't kicked in, so I'd imagine it'll be somewhat improved this time, but probably not adequate.
They've already announced
It's
next
already
year's.
been set for next
Yeah.
year. It's 2%, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So you'd hope in another 2 years' time, when they're looking back, then we can get our 5 or 6% that we should be owed.
Yeah.
They won't, though.
Well, if they're looking, they must have set that. When was that
Oh,
set?
that's weeks ago.
Yeah, that was, it's usually early in the new financial year, they're nearly setting it for the next financial year.
Well, I think interest rates have increased since then, and so has inflation. Yeah. Anyway,
And they would have known that.
It's been a while that we've known it's 2%.
she did consider, or is considering in the future, mitigation of climate change costs to be considered. The overall method could be made more simple. There's a workshop in Tamworth on the 1st of December. If anyone, it would be good if someone could attend that. It will also be online for rural and regional councils. And that's the review of the rate peg methodology. She also said that they're looking at, in this review, they are looking at, and I don't know how this will work, but a different cap for different councils, like for rural and city, I think, she was talking. I think they've really got to consider the damage that we've received from the massive bill. The other thing I can report is that Jamie Chappie was made the new chair of Country Mayors. He was the only nomination. Rick Furman from Zamora is the deputy. Jamie's already said he wants to have 6 meetings a year instead of 4, which I'm concerned about. And we're going to incorporate in one of our meetings a tour of the Newcastle port, which should be interesting. Yeah, this is my report, but the other thing I wanted to mention was Inland Rail, and I'm going to ask you to help here, Alex, with, well, we meet with them on a regular basis. I think we've got a pretty good rapport with them all, but
Certainly.
we're now up to discussing North Star to the border, which won't start until 2025.
Late
The construction
24.
will be 2025,
Yes.
sorry. The actual work will start before that. And we've got a dilemma, haven't we, with building a road and then wearing it out, and we did discuss how that could be depreciated. Do you want to take that on?
Yeah, so there's a few dilemmas around road use with North Star to the border. The primary concern is that because the entire development was state significant development or something to that effect, it wasn't a development that council approves or has any approval, any right of approval. And as part of their environmental impact statement, they captured what they're calling borrow pits, which are small gravel pits that they can take material from for their project. Because they were approved under that environmental impact statement and the approval for the overall development, we didn't get an ability to apply a traffic generating development road use contribution to them like we do for our quarries. So the ranges from 38.7 cents to $1.91 depending on the quarry. The dilemma we have at the moment is that it looks like up to, and they're quite coy about where it's going to come from still, but they want to move 2 million tonnes on our roads of material from various pits across the Shire to their project. If we don't get we won't get a developer contribution out of any of that unless they are buying from registered pits. The registered pits that we have for premium material, it's very unlikely that they will be using premium material for general fill. It'll be throwing money away. We're talking with them about what mechanisms we can put in place so we can be reimbursed in some way, and they've been quite cooperative. They appreciate the pickle that we're in, and they don't want to do us out of a cent, but the mechanism by which we are reimbursed for what damage they may cause to our infrastructure is fairly complicated. What was initially proposed was that we would make a decision on what a normal maintenance regime looks like, and if it costs $250,000 a year and we're spending $750,000 a year, they'll give us the $500,000. To actually put that in place and have some measurable things to work against is reasonably difficult. So we're evolving that. They're certainly cooperative, and I don't think we're going to end up in a situation similar to the one we were with the Narrabri to North Star project, where we've got road degradation and we have to wear it. But it's going to be a fairly drawn-out process, and it has been a drawn-out process.
It's complicated in that they're saying if you're getting $1.90 contribution out of a pit, then they should be able to subtract that, and probably rightly so. But there's one pit in particular we're not going to get anything out of.
That's right.
That's going up a bitumen road.
Well, I mean, there could be, for their general fill, I'd wager that of the 2 million tonnes, at least 1 million tonnes will be general fill.
Yeah. We won't get anything.
We won't get anything, because it'd be very foolish to be paying $30 a tonne for that when they could be paying $3 a tonne and pulling it out of a borrow pit.
My argument is that any development, whether it be a feedlot or whatever it is, have to make a contribution. And I believe that this should be the same rule.
I agree entirely.
And my suggestion wasn't silly, I didn't think, that if we've got a straight line depreciation scale for our roads, they contribute to that.
Yeah.
I think that's logical.
One of the things I put on the table early on the piece was, given that they couldn't tell us what pits they were taking from and when, we would simply come up with a dollar figure and say, well, you're taking 2 million tonnes. An average of all the quarries in the area is about $1.21 a tonne, so we want $2.4 million. And there's no reason that shouldn't be payable up front as well, because it's another complication. If we're looking at up to $2 million of road degradation, which I don't think is out of the question, we will be wearing that up front and being reimbursed in arrears, and we could be carrying something significant for a period of time.
And going on the rising cost, that could be a conservative figure.
Certainly.
But we're dealing with a company, Lang O'Rourke, the contractors, and they don't even have the contract yet.
Yeah.
Not officially. So, yes, Councillor.
Alex, what does 2 million tonne equate to in truck movements?
Oh, it's a good question.
Well, it'll be road trains. There'll be 50 tonne of load.
50 tonne.
They'll take if they car it with triples, it'll be a bit less. Somewhere in the region of 30,000 trucks.
30,000.
One-way movements.
Over a period of time, 30,000. I forgot the three numbers.
There's some triples. Yeah.
What sort of truck movements would we normally expect?
Depending on the road.
You'd have the figures.
I can give you the figures. It'll take me 5 minutes to get to them.
There's one road, the road from North Star to Cropper Creek, past the feedlot. Right, we've got our fingers crossed for a grant to renew that and reseal it. And that's where a lot of these, there'll be 1 million tonnes hauled over that, at least maybe more.
Referendum on that.
Yeah, and that road will be completed before they start, hopefully. So how do we do it? How do we do the degradation on that?
That's also a very high stock and grain route as well. You've got 2 feedlots on that.
And how do you do the degradation on that? How do you work out what they've done?
Depends on how far they're going on the road too. I mean, if it's close to the pit, they're only going 4 mile, but they might be taking a 20 mile, 20 k's.
Yeah, well, they're coming out of town.
Your costs are all
on our at the busier end of the spectrum, on our sealed road network, 31,000 heavy vehicles a year. So it's essentially an extra year's worth of traffic.
Fair rate. It's 3.7% next year.
3.7.
Yeah, I thought
I found the email too. So I was entirely wrong. It's 3.7% the rate back. Plus, they've got a population factor for each council, which we won't know yet, but I think we won't get anything.
No, we won't get anything out of that. It's great. Yeah.
But in
So
that,
3.7 is pretty good.
it's pretty good. But in that same thing, they pointed out that this was from debits and credits, but they pointed out that there's been an 88% increase over the last 9 years in the audit fees, compared to a CPI increase of 19%.
That was mentioned. Yeah.
And a rate pegging increase of 23%.
Yeah.
So, Alex, what you're saying is our roads are going to decrease. If this goes on for 3 years, we've used 6 years worth of road use.
No, I think what we're saying is that we're going to cover it, aren't we? We're going to win.
Yes.
We're going to win.
Yeah.
We've just got to work out the mechanism.
It's difficult. I mentioned it to give the example of how difficult it is to arrive at a figure.
And I think we're bargaining fairly hard. They are aware that we aren't going to... nothing can happen on our road network before we sign this Master Inland Rail Development Agreement with ARTC, and we'll drag the chain as long as we need to make sure we've got a fair deal. And we don't want to get a cent more than we're owed, but we don't want to get a cent more than cent less than we're owed also.
Got the benefit of hindsight from the previous.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And from a few other deals we've made.
Yeah.
It isn't bad.
Well, there's one pit there that's going to be a major supplier. There's no Section 94. It's changes. What's it called? 7-Eleven?
7-Eleven.
Yeah. Yeah. No contribution. It's the one on Johnson's place, the other one.
And no contribution.
Johnson's pit. That's it from me.
So you want to have a break before you go into the...
That's better. Yeah, all right. Well, so I need to move it to go into confidential session. Councillor Smith, Councillor Colton. Put the motion, those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Carried, okay. Can I have a move that we go out of this confidential session and that we adopt record the adoption. Thank you, Councillor Smith. Seconded. Where did I get it? Councillor Matthews. With that motion, those in favour say aye.
Aye.
It's now carried. Now, Max, you might go through.
I will. From the confidential part of the meeting, on the Community Services and Planning Report, the recommendation to the Council is that the report be received. Regarding the Warrialda Solar Farm lease, the recommendation from the committee to the Council is that the Council enter a 30-year lease with New South Wales Community Renewables Warrialda Proprietary Limited over Lot 2 in Deposited Plan 1222620, part of the land described as Solar Farm 1 on Deposited Plan 1287738. Further, that item 5.3 of the draft lease be amended to read, the rent is to be reviewed annually throughout the term of on the dates and in the manner set out in Schedule 3, with a market review of the rent if the grant of option is exercised under item 3.5. In regard to the temporary occupation and acquisition of council roads for the Inland Rail project, the recommendation to the Council is that Council execute the licence to perform works on a public road, Section 138 Roads Act 1993, New South Wales, with ARTC via an authorised delegate. Further, that Council finalise and execute the deed of compulsory acquisition by agreement, Section 29 Land Acquisition Just Terms Compensation Act 1991, New South Wales, with Transport New South Wales via an authorised delegate, once the inclusion or not of Forest Creek Road is confirmed by ARTC and Transport New South Wales. Further, that this report be received. Also, it's noted that there were some councillor reports.
So I need a mover to adopt that on our meeting. Councillor Galvin, seconded Councillor Egan. Put that motion, those in favour say aye. Aye. It's now carried. And with that, I declare the meeting closed and thank you very much for your attendance.